Well, welcome home again, all of you, friends. It's good to be with you in this year that we're approaching, this Ingathering Sunday. For those of you who are very new, this is the Sunday when we asked you to give all your worldly possessions to the church. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to gather them in, and no. We hope your summers were wonderful. Just a little humor from before we get started. I hope the summers were as wonderful as ours were. It's good to be together. I hope that this day gives you some strength, some hope to face all that we are facing together in the world right now. It's at Ingathering here, as we talked a little bit about in the story, when we set a theme for our year. You have your booklet, and we look at the ways that theme will guide our thinking together, our worship, our ways of focusing our energy and our attention for the year. So this year, our return again is the theme. Return again to the home of your soul. Once someone asked me, well, do you really believe in a soul? What's a soul? Like kind of challenging me on the soul thing. And I said, well, if there is a thing, and Aretha is the queen of it, then I believe in it and that it is real. So that's all you have to tell people if they have a problem. And the hymn tells us to return to the home of your soul, born and reborn again. There he is. He's gone too far. He's talking about being born again on Ingathering Sunday. That's all right. Have no fear. We're not going to install a full immersion Baptist font up here yet. Returning again is important, this idea. It seems redundant, but think about it. Return again, because there's a lot returning again in our lives right now. Bigotry in the letter of the law is returning again. Restricting individual liberties, returning again. Unyielding pressure, economic and social, returning again and again. Dress it up with other words if you want, but fascism is returning again. Into Texas, law this week passed a bill restricting access to public accommodations, specifically restrooms, according strictly to the reproductive system a person had at birth, and allowing a private cause of action and a bounty of $125,000 for informers, neighbor informers, to any public entity that fails sufficiently to enforce this law. And in the past few days, the War Department, formerly known as the Department of Defense, is firing trans people for being themselves after asking them to receive a diagnosis many years ago that they are now using against them. And representatives of the Department of Justice have said publicly they're considering labeling trans people as mentally ill and forbidding them access to firearms on that basis alone. The party of a right to bear arms indeed. Sorry, I shouldn't do this, but seriously, y'all. When I was out with some friends this week, I used a single occupancy ladies' room because the men's room, there was a line because the world is upside down. Right? My friends saw me when I came out and out of the bathroom. And when I came out, I was wearing a sequin bow tie, but that is another sermon. When I came out of the restroom, my friends saw me, and I said, well, you can get a quick $125,000 if you act fast. He didn't understand what I meant. Completely unaware that this law had passed, and his life didn't matter. All week, I don't know if you saw it, I get a paper. Anyone else, a paper? Okay, good. I get the Dallas Morning News. No hissing, I get it. They ran front page stories this week, did they not? About the experience of people who are afraid to be pregnant in this state. One story was about a doctor who chose to move out of state with her family to Hawaii. Another about an Episcopal priest. That's right, she better get hers. Terrified about her own life here, where she planted a church herself. Called by her faith, by her God, to care for others. And a third about a woman made to carry a stillbirth twice because vague laws forbid her care. And that one had a headline, "A Walking Coffin." Yeah. Above the fold in the Dallas Morning News this week. Front page news. Now, I know there's a lot going on in the world, but to ignore a story above the fold like this, happening to a neighbor in such stark terms of unfairness and unconscionable treatment, is hard. It's hard to understand where the outrage is in the streets. And federal takeovers of cities, masked faces of ICE agents, stalking the halls of immigration courts, of parent check-ins, and the unyielding attacks on science and knowledge and health. In all of these and more is the fetid stench of a fascist takeover. That's right. Bigotry, misogyny, fascism returning again, but not all of these worst things, not all of the worst things are happening even in plain sight. You see, fascism, most haunting ghoulishness, is less in the actions it takes and more in those it doesn't, because they're just waiting for society to fall in line. In the last year, the Supreme Court has issued more than a dozen rulings from its emergency docket. Stay with me on this, friends. It's important. The emergency docket was created so that a controversy that has an immediate harm that needs to be addressed can be addressed with the understanding that the court will receive briefs and argument and all kinds of other discussion and then issue a full written opinion about the case and controversy before it. It's meant to just stem a very immediate concern, and instead, this court has mistaken a gavel for a rubber stamp. Hear me. The court is issuing unsigned opinions, barely reasoned decisions, really, to allow this administration to proceed with its fascist agenda. Now, this was easy to miss when you are incensed with what is above the fold, and you should be. Way down in the paper is a story about something that happened in Massachusetts. Judge William G. Young, who was appointed to the federal bench by President Reagan in 1985, issued a formal apology on the record in one of his cases to Judge Gorsuch and Judge Kavanaugh, two justices on the Supreme Court. See, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh issued a 3-page order, not a decision, an order in April of this year about the Department of Education permitting the administration to cut grants that it had promised. We are used to hearing this. But then 6 months later, Judge Young in Boston ruled that cuts to grants to the National Institutes of Health, totally different groups, were motivated by unlawful bias, including racial bias, and they were not permissible. So he ruled you can't do that. Totally different departments, totally different parties, totally different grants. And yet, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh scolded Judge Young publicly for not following their order and getting in line in another case. Gorsuch said these chilling words, quote, "When this court issues a decision, it constitutes a precedent that commands respect in lower courts." It's not chilling on its face. Listen, they're chilling because the leap that it takes, any rational person, let alone a jurist with 47 years of experience, a jurist appointed to the bench before either of these guys even went to law school, the leap that it takes, you have to make to guess that such a skeletal order would apply to this other case issued a half year ago is enormous. It's a league. It is huge. And yet Judge Young said this on the record, I quote, "I have served in judicial office now for over 47 years. Never before this admonition has any judge in any higher court ever thought to suggest that this court had defied the precedent of a higher court. That was never my intention. I simply did not understand that orders on the emergency docket were precedent. I stand corrected." We hear you, Judge. On the face, it sounds like he's saying, "I'm sorry," but those words are a warning to us all. Justice Alito himself, on the record just a few years ago, said the emergency docket is not a precedent. And I think Judge Young knows that. And yet here we are. Hear me when I say that a rubber stamp Supreme Court majority who this week told lower courts not to step out of line is not something to take lightly, not something to be quizzical about or even particularly puzzled about. It is a lurch into fascist cooperation among our withering branches of government, and alarm bells are going off. Or they should be. But they're not, right? Because it's hard to hear an alarm bell when 100 other alarm bells are going off at the same time, friends, right? Is anyone else feeling that way? All right. But what I've done here, in the very patient, nerdy way you all just tolerated for 5 minutes, is looking at something, an issue, to look at it more deeply than I've been able to sometimes, to read the full article, to think about what's really being said between the lines. See, fascists need a tide. They need to streamline the machinery of power to accomplish their plans. We are seeing it in other places in the world now, to have people fall in line. And the more the highest court and the members of that court who seem to be the highest on power, the more they get in line with that project of ruling by fiat and decree, the erosion of the rule of law gets more and more serious over time and hard to reclaim. It's one of the most important elements in the work of fascism. It's not like the work of fascism, though, was not alive and well, upheld by decisions by that same court not too many years ago, friends. The treatment of persons who were enslaved, who had no autonomy over their body, no official voice in their own governance, that was fascism too, friends. And this nation did it better than anyone had ever seen. When the Nazi regime studied the practices of plantation owners in this country, in the US, they were like, whoa, that is too far. And if that shocks you, read Caste by Pulitzer Prize winning author Isabel Wilkerson. It is all in there. And the Jim Crow laws that followed the defeat of that hateful Confederacy throughout the nation, not just in the South, that segregated those persons formerly enslaved and those who looked like them, were the holy gospel of a conquered white supremacist revolt, including a positive mania about what? Separating people in bathroom accommodations. Returning again. Fascism isn't just popping up, it's returning again. Who let me preach on Ingathering Sunday? What? Y'all are so nice. It's easy, and I've said it. It's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. It's easy to say that. It's unimaginable. Well, friends, we need to stop saying that. I'm here to tell you that what we need more What we desperately need to do is to stop thinking things around us, happening to us, to our beloveds, are unimaginable. For all of human history, the unimaginable is exactly what has come to communities under the thumb of tyrannical power. It's exactly what has come. And the blind spot of good-hearted people is the hope for the best in others, to see the potential for good, and consequently to take no action to prevent bad from happening at all cost. We cannot let that be our blind spot. Now, I know these are serious topics, and I know many of us want a sanctuary from the week of weariness that we have. I get that, but you've got to hear this, and I think it should be in church. I think it should be in every church, but this is the one we've got. It should be in this church, in my opinion. It is community work. We cannot and should not do this work alone. Isolation is the tool of oppressors. Do not do this alone. It should not be done without the companion work of imagining what your family, your community, your church will do to remake and reinforce the values and the foundation of the world we long to see. The world our children deserve, indeed, the world all of the world's children deserve, to see the ants organizing on the bark. Here is your assignment. And I'm not joking. This is a real assignment. Do you hear me? Okay. You don't have to take notes because it's being recorded, which I may regret when I'm disbarred. Sorry, Your Honor. I'm not sorry. Spend at least an hour this week with someone else, not alone, and think together creatively, feel deeply, and talk through how you together might slow or stop a fascist advance in our communities. What is close to your heart? What concerns you or affects the people that you love? Is it our schools? Is it militarism? Is it maternal health care? Is it access to firearms, public accommodations? I'm so sad to tell you that the list could go on. And when you meet, research what has worked in the past from systems, from groups of people who rose up and rankled the systems of tyranny around us to change the hearts and the minds about that issue and brainstorm about what could work this time, in a different age, as this issue returns again in our time. Do you understand the assignment? Yes. Will you pledge an hour of teamwork to do it? Yes. Good. I will be asking you for it next week. Put it in the collection plate. I'm only half joking. We want to hear. Because listen, church. This week marks 3 years of me being with you here. Yeah. Now, I've spent those 3 years, I know, it feels like forever, enough with TJ up here. But I've spent them witnessing the love that you are giving to this world constantly. And one of the most powerful experiences of my short life is being part of this community of such tremendous love. Every day, I see how much you love the world. In every email about a group to support, there's love. In every hour our teachers take to prepare to care for our children over there, love. In every music rehearsal, musicians. In every committee meeting and dinner with friends, there is love. In every donut and cup of coffee, love. In every protest trip across borders, with someone who is afraid and just needs a hand to hold, love. In every one of these acts and in so many more, we are pulling forward the community that our elders and our forebears have nurtured, have guided so that we might live a life of faith together again and again and again. In every morning, we glimpse a more complete answer to a deeper and deeper question, and in every night we dream of how to love this world. We daily pray a prayer of our service to it that speaks and that urges hope into the hearts of it and around the world. We must never forget, we must remember again and again and again that in a faith unshackled like ours is a future unbound. In a church so bold as ours is a faith so wondrous, and in a people so free as you is a world of joy. Do you hear me, church? Joy is devising the best way to rankle the slick tracks of tyranny again and again as long as it takes. Joy in holding the hand of someone you barely know but has come here because they are afraid again and again. Joy in being totally ungovernable. Joy in being outrageously, that's right, outrageously loving. Joy in being united against the onslaught of the worth and dignity of our beloveds again and again until it stops. Return to the home of your soul, friends, and in the words of its queen, you better think. Think about what you are trying to do to me. You better think. Let your mind go. Let yourself be free. You need me and I need you, and without each other, there is nothing either can do. You better think. We will not let them take our joy, for it is the holy path to love. We will not let them take our joy, for it is the greatest tool of resistance we have. We will not let them take our joy, for it is what our faith offers to every soul that finds a home here from this day and evermore. Welcome home to your church, friends. May the joy in this community return again and guide us ever onward as it was in the beginning and may ever be evermore. Welcome back, and amen.